Your parents, they planted something in you when you were a child. You didn't see it, you didn't feel it, you had no idea it was even happening, but the seed was there, buried deep within your psyche, waiting for the perfect moment to germinate. Carl Jung, that groundbreaking explorer of the human mind, spent his life studying how narcissistic tendencies take root and grow. And he uncovered a truth that changes everything: narcissism. It's not an accident, it's a cultivation. Parents, they plant specific seeds in childhood, repeated phrases, consistent attitudes, unspoken emotions. And these seeds, they lie dormant, sometimes for decades, until a trigger appears, a new relationship, a life crisis, the birth of a child, and suddenly the seed awakens, it germinates, and begins to grow inside you, without you even realizing it. Today, I'm going to reveal the 6 toxic seeds that parents unknowingly plant, seeds that appear harmless, but grow into devastating narcissistic patterns. If you constantly feel programmed to fail, to self-sabotage, to repeat the same mistakes, this will explain what's happening deep within you. Jung called these seeds complexes, autonomous cores of psychic energy that lie dormant until they're activated. Think of a complex as a tree seed. When planted, it seems harmless, small, insignificant. But encoded within it is the full potential of a giant tree, roots that will spread, branches that will reach for the sky, fruits that will appear. The seed doesn't need instructions. It knows what to do. It just needs the right conditions to germinate. Complexes, they work the same way. They're planted in childhood. They lie dormant. And when the conditions are right, they awaken and begin to grow automatically, without your permission, without your conscious awareness. The first toxic seed is the seed of inadequacy. Let me tell you about Ethan. Ethan was 45 years old, with a successful career that he just couldn't enjoy. Each promotion brought more anxiety. Each accolade felt like a mistake. Every compliment rang hollow. "I feel like an imposter," he confessed in therapy. "Like any minute, people are going to realize I'm just not that good." The seed was planted when Ethan was just 6 years old. His dad was a demanding man. Not cruel, not abusive, just demanding. When Ethan brought home a good grade, his dad would look at it and say, "That's good, but it could be better." When Ethan did something well, his dad would comment, "Not bad, but the neighbor's kid did it better." It was never enough, never celebrated. There was always something missing. Ethan's dad wasn't trying to destroy him. He was trying to motivate him. He thought that if he praised him too much, Ethan would become complacent. That criticism was the way to make his son improve. But what Ethan internalized was different. The planted seed whispered, "You'll never be enough. No matter what you do, something will always be lacking." This seed lay dormant for years. Ethan did well in school, got into a good college, landed a great job. But at 35, when he was promoted to director, the seed germinated. Suddenly, he couldn't sleep anymore. He was convinced that they had made a mistake in promoting him, that they would soon discover that he didn't deserve to be there. The inadequacy complex had awakened, and it was growing fast. The second toxic seed is the seed of invisibility. Carolyn was 38 years old, and she carried a constant feeling that she didn't exist. She could be in a room full of people and feel completely alone. She could speak and feel like no one was listening. She could be present and feel absent. The seed was planted when she was too young to even remember. Carolyn was the second child. The first was problematic, demanding. She required Constant attention. And Carolyn was easy, quiet, she didn't cause trouble. Her parents were internally grateful to have at least one daughter who wasn't a problem. And without realizing it, they stopped seeing her. The attention always went to the sister. The dramas always revolved around the sister. The conversations, always about the sister. Carolyn learned not to have needs, not to take up space, not to exist. The planted seed whispered, "You're not important enough to be seen. Your needs don't matter." At 38, after 2 failed marriages, Carolyn finally understood the pattern. She chose partners who ignored her, who didn't see her, who treated her the way she had learned to be treated. The seed of invisibility had germinated into relationships where she repeated the family dynamic. Invisible, ignored, non-existent. The third toxic seed is the seed of guilt. Richard was 52 years old, and he carried the weight of the world on his shoulders. Everything was his fault. If his wife was sad, it was his fault. If his son was doing poorly in school, it was his fault. If the project at work failed, it was his fault. He lived to apologize for things he did, for things he didn't do, for things that weren't even related to him. The seed was planted when Richard was 8 years old. His mom was depressed, undiagnosed, untreated, just a sad woman who couldn't hide her sadness. And Richard, like many children, took on the responsibility. If I were a better son, Mom would be happy. If I didn't cause trouble, Mom would smile more. If I were different, everything would be different. His mom never said this explicitly, but Richard absorbed it through glances, sighs, silence, the way she seemed sadder when he asked for something, the way she seemed relieved when he disappeared. The planted seed whispered, "You're responsible for other people's emotions. If they're feeling bad, it's your fault." This seed germinated in all of Richard's relationships. He became the compulsive caretaker, the one who solved everyone's problems, the one who carried everyone's guilt. And when someone was feeling bad and he couldn't fix it, meltdown. Because the complex said that it was his responsibility, that he was failing, that he was guilty. The fourth toxic seed is the seed of fear. Juliana was 41 years old, and she lived in a state of permanent alert. She couldn't relax. She couldn't trust. She couldn't believe that good things would last. Each moment of peace was followed by the certainty that something bad was about to happen. Each joy was tainted by the fear of losing. The seed was planted when Juliana was 4 years old. Her dad was unpredictable, not violent, just unpredictable. One moment he was good-humored, playing, laughing. The next moment he would explode in anger over something minuscule, a cup in the wrong place, a word said in the wrong tone, anything. Juliana never knew which dad she was going to find when he came home, the loving one or the furious one, the one who played or the one who screamed. She developed hypervigilance. She learned to read the environment constantly, to detect signs of danger, bracing yourself for the worst. The seed planted whispered, "The world is a dangerous and unpredictable place. You're never safe. At any moment, everything can change." At 41 years old, this seed had blossomed into chronic anxiety. Juliana couldn't enjoy anything because she was always expecting disaster, always in survival mode, always ready to flee or fight. The fifth toxic seed is the seed of performance. Richard was 47 years old, and he didn't know who he was outside of his achievements, His entire identity was built on what he did. Titles, positions, recognition. Without it, he didn't exist. When someone asked, "Who are you?" he answered with what he did. When someone wanted to get to know him, he showed them his resume. The seed had been planted as far back as he could remember. Richard's parents loved him, genuinely, but they could only demonstrate that love through accomplishments. When he won, when he conquered, when he surpassed, then the hugs came, the proud looks, the words of affection. But when he failed, when he lost, when he was just a normal kid, silence, distance, subtle coldness, the seed planted whispered, "You only have value when you produce. Without achievements, you don't deserve love." At 47 years old, Richard had everything society considers success, but internally, he was empty because his true self had never been loved. Only the performance, only the mask, only what he produced. The sixth toxic seed is the seed of distrust. Carolyn was 35 years old, and she couldn't trust anyone. Every compliment hid an ulterior motive. Every kindness had a price. Every love was conditional. She tested people constantly, created situations to see if they would abandon her, provoked crises to confirm that no one was reliable. And when people finally distanced themselves, tired of the tests, she confirmed, "I knew it. No one's trustworthy." The seed was planted when Carolyn was 7 years old. Her mom promised things and didn't deliver, said she would pick her up from school and forgot, promised outings that never happened, swore she would change and stayed the same. Her dad said he loved her and then disappeared for months, came back with gifts and promises, disappeared again. Carolyn learned that words mean nothing, that promises are lies, that love is temporary. The seed planted whispered, "No one is trustworthy. Everyone will abandon you. Never let your guard down." This seed grew into relationships where she couldn't commit, always kept one foot out the door, always had an escape plan, always knew she would be abandoned. And ironically, by protecting herself from abandonment, she created the abandonment. People got tired of never being trusted, and they left, confirming the original belief. Now I need you to understand something fundamental about how these seeds work. Carl Jung explained that complexes are not just memories, they are autonomous entities within the psyche. They have their own energy, their own will. They function almost like separate personalities. According to Jung, these complexes operate largely outside of our conscious awareness, significantly influencing our behaviors and perceptions. Understanding this is key. When a seed is planted in childhood, it doesn't stay static. It absorbs energy, grows in silence, develops roots that spread throughout the entire psyche. And the most disturbing part? You don't realize it. Ethan didn't know he carried the seed of inadequacy. He thought his anxiety was normal, that everyone felt like an imposter, that it was just healthy perfectionism. Carolyn didn't know she carried the seed of invisibility. She thought she was introverted, that she preferred to be alone, that she didn't need attention. Richard didn't know he carried the seed of guilt. He thought he was responsible, that taking care of others was his nature, that constant guilt was just a conscience. The seeds disguise themselves. They seem like personality traits. They seem like conscious choices. They seem like who you are. But they're not. They are complexes planted by others, growing inside you, controlling your life without your permission. Now let me explain why certain seeds germinate at certain moments. Carl Jung observed that complexes lie dormant until they find a trigger, something in the external environment that resonates with the original wound. These triggers act as catalysts, igniting the dormant complex and bringing it to the forefront of our awareness and behavior. This is a crucial aspect of understanding how our past influences our present. For Ethan, the trigger was the promotion. Success activated the seed of inadequacy, because success was exactly what he could never achieve in his dad's eyes. For Carolyn, the trigger was the marriage. Intimacy activated the seed of invisibility, because intimacy was exactly what was missing in childhood. For Richard, the trigger was the birth of his son. Becoming a father activated the seed of guilt, because he unconsciously associated parenthood with impossible responsibility. The trigger works like water and sun for a seed. It creates the conditions for germination. Suddenly, the complex that was dormant awakens and begins to dominate. And here's the problem. When the complex awakens, it doesn't warn you. It simply assumes control. Ethan didn't realize that the imposter had awakened. He only realized that he couldn't sleep anymore, that he was anxious, that he wanted to give up the promotion. The complex was in the driver's seat. Ethan thought he was driving his life, but it was his dad's complex of inadequacy who was in command. This is what Carl Jung called possession by a complex, a state where the complex becomes stronger than the conscious ego, where you act, think, and feel from the complex, not from who you really are. Most people live possessed by complexes their entire lives without realizing it. Now I'm going to explain how to identify which seed was planted in you. There are 5 signs that a complex is active. First sign, disproportionate reactions. If you react to something in a much more intense way than the situation justifies, a complex has probably been activated. Someone criticizes you slightly, and you fall apart for days. Someone ignores you once, and you feel that no one loves you. Someone questions your work, and you want to give up everything. The disproportion is the sign. The intensity doesn't come from the current situation. It comes from the old seed that was touched. Second sign, patterns that repeat. If you live the same situations repeatedly, complexes are operating. You always choose partners who abandon you. You always sabotage yourself when you're close to success. You always end up in conflict with authorities. The repetition isn't coincidence. It's the complex recreating the conditions of the original wound, unconsciously seeking situations that confirm the planted belief. Third sign, automatic behaviors. If you do things without thinking, and then ask yourself, why did I do that? A complex was in command. You said something you didn't want to say. You reacted in a way you don't recognize as your own. You made a decision that doesn't make sense. The automatism is the sign. When the complex takes over, the conscious ego is pushed aside. You're acting from an old program, not from a present choice. Fourth sign, specific physical sensations. Complexes live in the body. When they're activated, they produce characteristic physical sensations, a tightness in the chest, a lump in the throat, tension in the shoulders, a stomach ache. Each complex has its own somatic signature. If you pay attention, you'll realize that certain situations always produce the same physical sensations. That's the complex manifesting in the body. Fifth sign, obsessive thoughts. If you can't stop thinking about something, a complex has probably been activated. The situation has already passed, but you keep reliving it. The conversation was yesterday, but you're still rehearsing responses. The event was years ago, but it still hurts like it was today. The obsession is the signal. The complex needs attention. It pulls your energy towards itself. It doesn't leave you in peace until it's processed. Now I'm going to explain the process of deactivating these seeds. Jung was clear. You can't just rip out a complex. It's too deeply rooted. It's part of your psychic structure. According to Carl Jung, these deeply ingrained patterns shape our behavior in profound ways. But you can integrate it, make it conscious, take away the automatic power it has over you. The ability for these complexes to hijack your conscious awareness. The process has 4 steps. The first step is to name the seed. You need to identify which complex is operating. Give it a name. Think of it as labeling a file in your mind. Ethan needed to name it. I carry the seed of inadequacy. My dad planted the belief that I'm never enough. It's a common complex, this feeling of never measuring up. Carolyn needed to name it. I carry the seed of invisibility. My family taught me that my needs don't matter. This sense of being unseen and unheard can be incredibly damaging. Richard needed to name it. I carry the seed of guilt. My mom made me feel responsible for her emotions. The burden of emotional responsibility is a heavy one to carry. Naming doesn't cure, but it creates distance. Suddenly, it's no longer I am inadequate. It's I carry a complex of inadequacy. The identity separates from the complex. It's like saying, this is a part of me, but it's not all of me. The second step is to trace the origin. You need to go back to the moment when the seed was planted, not to relive the trauma, but to understand how it got here. It's about uncovering the roots of the problem. Ethan needed to remember, sometimes with pain, his dad looking at his good grade and saying, it could be better. The sensation in his stomach, the certainty that he would never be enough. It's about connecting the dots between past experiences and present feelings. By tracing the origin, you understand that the complex isn't the truth about you. It's a belief that was installed, a program that came from the outside. It's understanding that your inner world was shaped by external forces. The third step is to dialogue with the complex. This sounds strange, but it works. Jung developed a technique called active imagination. You visualize the complex as a separate entity and talk to it. It's a conversation with a part of yourself. Ethan visualized his complex of inadequacy. It looked like a 6-year-old boy, curled up, waiting for criticism. He asked, "What do you need?" The boy responded, "I need to know that I'm enough, even when I fail." It's about acknowledging the unmet needs of the past. Ethan gave the boy what his dad never gave. You are enough. You don't need to prove anything. I love you, even when you fail. It seems simple, it seems silly, but the brain doesn't really distinguish between imagination and emotional reality. The reparenting through internal dialogue really changes the structure of the complex. It's about giving yourself the love and acceptance you didn't receive as a child. The fourth step is to choose consciously. After naming, tracing, and dialoguing, you gain something you didn't have before: choice. When the complex is activated, you now perceive it. Then you can choose not to obey. You become aware of the complex's influence, and you gain the power to decide how to react. Ethan feels the inadequacy rising after a difficult meeting. Before, he obeyed automatically. He was anxious for days, doubted himself, thought about giving up. Now he perceives, the complex of inadequacy has been activated, and chooses differently. I know I'm feeling inadequate, but that's an old complex. The reality is that I did a good job. The choice doesn't eliminate the feeling, but it prevents the feeling from controlling the behavior. It allows you to act from a place of conscious awareness rather than being driven by unconscious patterns. Now let me tell you what happened to each of them after years of work. Ethan, at 50 years old, finally managed to receive a compliment without discounting it internally. His boss said that he had done an exceptional job. The automatic reaction came, "He's exaggerating. I could have done better. Anyone would do the same." But Ethan perceived the complex, paused, and chose differently. "Thank you," he said, and for the first time, he felt the compliment sink in. The seed of inadequacy didn't die. It will never die completely, but it lost control. Ethan can now receive recognition without the filter of his dad saying, "It could be better." The complex is still there, but it no longer dictates his reality. Carolyn, at 43 years old, said for the first time what she needed. She was at a dinner with friends. Everyone talking about their problems, no one asking about her. The automatic reaction came, "Disappear, listen, don't take up space." But Carolyn perceived the complex, paused, and chose differently. "I'm also going through something difficult," she said, and took up space for the first time. The seed of invisibility didn't disappear, but Carolyn can now appear when she chooses. It's no longer automatic to hide. She now has the power to assert her needs and be seen. Richard, at 57 years old, let someone be sad without trying to fix it. His wife had a bad day. She was crying. The automatic reaction came. "It's my fault. I need to solve it. I need to make her stop suffering." But Richard perceived the complex, paused, and chose differently. "I know it's difficult," he said. "I'm here with you." He didn't try to fix it. He didn't assume the guilt. He was just present. He offered support without taking responsibility for her emotions. The seed of guilt is still there, but Richard can now be with someone's pain without carrying the responsibility of eliminating it. He can offer empathy without feeling compelled to fix the situation. Juliana, at 46 years old, managed to relax for an entire day. She was on vacation. Everything was fine. The automatic reaction came. "Something's going to go wrong. Don't let your guard down. Prepare for disaster." But Juliana perceived the complex, paused, and chose differently. "At this moment, I'm safe. At this moment, nothing is wrong. I'm going to enjoy this moment." The seed of fear didn't disappear, but Juliana can now have moments of peace without the constant vigilance. She can embrace the present moment without being consumed by anxiety about the future. Mark, at 52 years old, said, "I don't know," when asked who he was. Someone new asked, "Who are you?" The automatic reaction came, "Start listing accomplishments, titles, positions, proof of worth." But Mark perceived the complex, paused, and chose differently. "I'm still discovering," he said. And for the first time, he felt that it was enough. The seed of performance didn't die, but Mark can now exist without needing to constantly prove his value. He can embrace the journey of self-discovery without feeling the pressure to define himself by external achievements. Fernanda, at 40 years old, trusted someone for the first time. Her boyfriend said he loved her. The automatic reaction came. "He's lying. He's going to abandon me." Test him, provoke him, see if it's true. But Fernanda perceived the complex, paused, and chose differently. "I believe in you," she said, and for the first time, she let someone in. The seed of distrust still exists, but Fernanda can now trust when she chooses. It's no longer automatic to test and push away. Now, I need to talk about not planting these seeds in your own children. If you have children, or plan to, this part is crucial. The same seeds your parents planted in you, you might be planting in them, not because you want to, but because it's automatic. These complexes, they get passed down from generation to generation. It's like a psychological inheritance. Ethan's dad didn't intend to plant inadequacy. He thought he was motivating him, pushing him to be his best. But his own complex of inadequacy was operating. He criticized his son because he was criticized. He demanded perfection because he was never enough for his father. It's a heartbreaking echo. Carolyn's mom didn't want to plant guilt. She was simply suffering. But her own victim complex was running the show. She made her daughter feel responsible for her happiness because she herself never learned to take responsibility for her own pain. A heavy burden placed on small shoulders. The cycle is automatic unless you consciously interrupt it. Here are 5 questions to ask yourself regularly. First, am I loving my child for who they are or for what they produce, their accomplishments, their successes? Second, am I validating their emotions or telling them they should feel different? Dismissing their feelings is dismissing them. Third, am I allowing them to have needs or demanding that they be easy, a good child? Suppressing their needs teaches them they don't deserve to be supported. Fourth, am I being emotionally predictable, or do they never know which version of me they're going to encounter? Are you a safe harbor or a turbulent storm? Fifth, am I trusting them and keeping my promises, or teaching them that words mean nothing? Broken promises to break trust. These questions are uncomfortable. No one wants to admit they might be planting toxic seeds in their children. It's painful to confront, but awareness is the only antidote. You can't change what you don't perceive. You can't. It requires honesty with yourself. Let me finish with something Carl Jung wrote, a quote that has resonated for decades. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. The seeds planted by your parents don't have to determine your life, but until you know they're there, they will. You'll act from them, thinking you're choosing. You'll repeat patterns, thinking it's bad luck. You'll suffer, thinking it's inevitable. Consciousness changes everything. When you name the seed, it loses power. When you trace its origin, it loses authority. When you dialogue with the complex, it loses autonomy. When you choose consciously, you reclaim command of your life. The seeds won't disappear. They're too deeply rooted. They're part of who you've become. They've shaped you. But you can decide which ones will flourish, which ones will be pruned, which ones will bear fruit, and which ones will be left without water, to wither and fade. You are the gardener of your own psyche. Your parents planted, but you decide what grows. If this video touched something in you, leave a comment telling me which of the 6 seeds resonated the most. Seed of inadequacy, of invisibility, of guilt, of fear, of performance, of mistrust. You are not alone. We all carry seeds we didn't plant. The difference is in which you consciously decides what to do with them. Until the next video, remember, you are not your seeds. You are who chooses what to do with them. Now you know.